Hello there, this is Network Africa. Coming up on the program, as the crisis in Burundi worsens, United Nations experts give a new death toll and a senior officer is murdered. Then we look at the post-election situation in Uganda. Is the majority of the electorate content with how things have played out? We have the latest from Kampala. And later, is the media contributing to the rise in terror attacks? We speak with an organized crime expert about copycat terrorism. We're delighted to have you on the midweek edition of Network Africa with me, Cynthia Are. Now, at the start of this week, we brought you news about the United Nations Security Council voicing its concerns about the worsening situation in Burundi. Two events have occurred today which actually justify those concerns. First of all, news has emerged that a senior Burundi army officer and ally of the President Pierre Nkurunziza was shot dead in the Defense Ministry compound yesterday evening. A statement released by the army explained that the late Lieutenant Colonel Darius Ikurakure was shot by an assassin disguised in a military uniform. Other soldiers gave a similar account, saying he was shot while inside of the ministry compound. This is the latest in a series of killings in the crisis, which began in April of last year and poses a huge risk of plunging the nation back into war. Now, the second event which has occurred today in Burundi and also validates the fears of the United Nations Security Council regarding the worsening Burundi crisis is the death toll released by the United Nations experts. New figures indicate that a total of 474 people have been killed in the East African country since last April, when the crisis broke out over President Nkurunziza's decision to run for a third term. However, a leader of the Burundi Human Rights Organization is contradicting that number given by the UN experts, saying the number of victims has actually exceeded 600. On its part, a government representative points the accusing finger at insurgents, saying they are responsible for those killings. In other matters, it's been almost 3 weeks since President Yoweri Museveni secured a fifth term as president of Uganda. Members of the opposition have challenged the results, saying that the polls were anything but free and fair. Analysts are now predicting that with the way events have been playing out at the moment, it's indicative that Uganda is actually stepping back in time. Analysts explain that the election results have angered people who now feel justified in trying to use other means, or they had been angry for a while but are now using the present political climate as their excuse. As a result of the events, there are predictions that the Ugandan army is going to revert to that combat readiness which it did in the early 1990s during the 2016 and 2021 period, and will feel a lot like the 1981 to 1985 period. Well, joining us to confirm or shut down these predictions is renowned Ugandan journalist Joshua Poro. Joshua, thank you very much for your time on Network Africa. What is the latest regarding the Uganda post-election atmosphere?
Well, it is difficult to clearly stipulate at this time, but we have been having a couple of things happening. First and foremost, the leader of the largest opposition political party, that is the Forum for Democratic Change, Dr. Kizza Besigye, has been under house arrest for the last 32 days. Now, a criminal case was opened in the courts of law in Kasangati, where he stays, and he's seeking that court rule that the security forces deployed at his home, that is both the army and the police, be withdrawn, and also to rule that the government, that is police, has a case to answer in locking him up in his house. However, the ruling was meant to take place yesterday at the lower court, which is the magistrate court, but unfortunately there was a swift withdrawal of that case file by the High Court. So that meant the lower court could not make a ruling, and that is a serious stalemate at this point. So basically, he's going to be remaining, actually going to remain locked in his house for a very long time.
Okay.
Equally, if you remember last week when we had our conversations, I did tell you that there were some murders that had been taking place in the western part of Uganda. That is Kasese and Bundibujo.
Yes,
so last week but one, about 7 people were murdered. And we are looking at these as ethnic clashes. But unfortunately, last night, again, 5 more people were murdered and their assailants have not yet been arrested. And the government does not know who is perpetrating these murders. But we do think these are ethnic clashes based on political differences, people who believe differently, have different political beliefs. Yeah. And when you look at it clearly, you realize that Uganda might actually be plunging back in time during their mean days is what I think.
So that means you agree with what analysts are saying.
People disappear. You know, you don't see people. They just disappear all of a sudden. You can't be sure where they are anymore. So many people's relatives have disappeared. People's friends have disappeared. Others disappear and show up after months and say, I was being tortured somewhere.
So basically, you're confirming what analysts are saying, that Uganda might actually be stepping back in time, Joshua. But is the can we say that the majority of the electorate is content with how things have played out after the election results?
Cynthia, that is a big and complete impossibility. We cannot, the Ugandans, the serious Ugandans, the Ugandans of sound mind, cannot contend with how things have played out, because, for example, if you say that President Museveni won the election with 60% of the electorate vote, you realize that actually now there was no celebration in the entire country for his win. Back then, when President Museveni won the election, there were celebrations all over the place. But after winning the election, everyone was in their home. Yes. Ugandans are disgruntled people. That is why there is an election petition in court right now, and the ruling takes place on the 31st of March to whether to nullify the election of President Museveni as president in his 5th term. But do you know the most amazing thing is, some of the lawyers who are representing government in this election petition are from the law firm of the Chief Justice, who is a member of the bench in the courts of law. Do you tell me that the Chief Justice is going to be impartial, and yet some of the lawyers are coming from his law firm? Do you want his law firm to be discredited? Do you want him to lose his job? Because the position of the Chief Justice is actually appointed by the person of the President. So there's nothing in the near future that has by any chance Ugandans are contending to. No, that is a complete impossibility. And anyone who makes such a statement does not know the true spirit of the Ugandan people. Ugandans are actually becoming very rebellious. They do not care what happens to them. If the police is going to kill them, it's okay. Yesterday, students of Makerere University were rioting, and the students were just standing as the police fired tear gas towards them. Now, analysts do say that Uganda is stepping back in time. This is happening in a slow but very sure process, because what people believe is Uganda has a very strong police unit, and the president controls the army strongly, very, very, very strongly.
Well, Joshua will definitely be
clamp down members of the public. Members of the public are being shot when they are unarmed. Do you think it's an equal fight when someone with a stone is fighting with someone with a gun? It's an impossibility. Ugandans are being shot and killed, and the Inspector General of Police, General Kalekai, who has stand strong and defends members of his police force. So Ugandans do not contend with anything that has played out in the recent, because if they did, then there would have been no riots, there would have been no court petition, and there would have been...
Well, Joshua, thank you so much for clearing that up with us. We'll definitely keep our eyes open and our ears as well. And also, we're looking out for the events that will play out on the 31st of March, as you told us. Thank you very much for joining us on Network Africa. Still to come on the program, is the media contributing to the rise in terror? We speak with an organized crime expert about copycat terrorism.